sleeves with gathers, pleats, different types of cuffs, necklines, neat garment, easy to sew and beautiful to look at. That's what you'll see today. Ta-da! Red and navy. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and this is a brief intermission of a series I've been running for the last couple of days, almost every single day. And this is a tiny interruption from the series because this is not part of the purple capsule collection. So that will continue tomorrow. This is a pattern release I want to share with you, and I've actually sewn garments in colors that have nothing to do with purple, red, which is one of my favorite colors, and also navy, which is also a color that I love. A couple of months ago, I joined the testing team for GreenStyle Creations. I really like this brand. I think they do really good quality patterns, mainly focused on activewear. They have the best leggings and jackets and shorts. I've sewn the iron joggers for my son. He loves them. I've sewn the Brazzy joggers for myself. They are so well drafted. The Super G tights are so good. I've got videos about these on my channel, and also the Midway bomber. I'm super happy to participate now in the testing team. Super fun. And today I'm sharing with you the newest pattern release. It's called the Cambria top. It's designed for knit fabrics, and you'll see in the line out there all the options that there is here. The statement sleeve is a thing here. I think if you do these types of sleeves with a really nice drapey fabric, you'll have a really nice result without all that extra poofiness. You can see on the top of all these drawings the type of necklines that you have. You have one that has a taller neckline, and then you have a crew, a low crew, and a low scoop. Guess which one I chose? For the sleeves, you have several options as well. This area can be finished with gathers or pleats or just normal. The one that's finished normal here is a bishop sleeve at the bottom, so you'll have gathers into the cuffs, and you can see that the sleeves have different lengths, short, 3/4 and long. All these finish into some type of cuff. You can see there, you can choose a lot of options here. And I've sewn two of these garments. One is a short sleeve with the pleated sleeve and the little cuff right there, and the other one is also the pleated sleeve because I love it, but that one is finished at 3/4 and then ends with a really long slim cuff that finishes at the wrist, so it is a full-length sleeve. When I saw the line art, I could just see it on myself. So super fun test, super fun pattern with a lot of options. You can also hem this in different lengths. You can put a band there or just hem it normally. And as for the fit, on the side seams you'll see two lines. One is for a slimmer fit, one is for a looser fit. So there's so many ways you can customize and do whatever you want, because there are like 20,000 variations you can get from this pattern. Because it's a new release, it is at a special discounted price. It's 35% off, so the regular price would be $12 and it will be $7.80 through Tuesday the 24th. Excellent price for this pattern that has a lot of value in there. I have an affiliate link, of course. You can see it down below in my description box. I make a little commission from the pattern if you buy it through there at no extra cost to you, and that's one way you can support me if you want to. Only if you want to. I mentioned already that this was for knit fabrics. You need a knit fabric, of course, that stretches 40% horizontally and vertically. It can be a little bit less because there's actually no negative ease in this pattern, but I wouldn't choose a knit that doesn't stretch that much. Just keep it 30 to 40 or more. I would suggest staying with the lightweight fabrics, a little bit medium weight, but flowy types. There are so many options there on the screen that you can see, that you can choose, and that will look really nice. French terry, ITY, rayon spandex, modal, rib knit. The ones I like the most that I saw from the testing group was stretch velvet. So beautiful, and I wish I had that type of fabric, but I've never seen that type of fabric to buy. Looks super precious because you can really see the details on a stretch velvet. It looks beautiful. Other fabrics that could work but wouldn't drape as much is double brush poly. In my case, I've chosen a rayon spandex for my wearable muslin, which is extremely wearable. It's absolutely perfect. That's a navy rayon spandex. And for my final version, I chose a red ITY. It's a darker red. And the ITY is a little heavier than others I've worked with in the past. It's very nice to work with. Doesn't curl up as much. It's not so slippery like other ones I've worked with. So it's a dream to work with. And I have two tops, one navy, one red. Love them. You won't find your typical numerical sizes with these brands. You'll find letters from B to M. So it's really good. It takes you out of that headspace of always looking for that number or that S or M or L or extra large. You just have to forget about that and look at the size range on the chart and choose your size. I fall into the range of a G at the bust and an H at the hips. There is positive ease in this pattern. You won't find anything tight here. There's plenty of room at the bust, the waist and the hips. If you know your measurements, you choose your size based on that, looking at the chart, you will have a great result. There is a standard bust option and a full bust option for those of you who have a 4 to 6 inch difference between the high and the full bust. You can take advantage of the full bust option, and this full bust option is the best because it has a dart. Yes, you've heard it right, a dart in a knit pattern. I absolutely love sewing darts on knit patterns, and I'm always a little bit frustrated that they're not included more for knit garments that rely on stretch and other types of dartless FBAs. You know, us ladies that have a larger bust, you always have some fitting issues anyway, because just the length here, that discrepancy in length. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a video showing you all these drag lines that you'll see when you don't have the shaping on the side for your bust. And this applies to knit garments. If you look around in the streets at people, at yourself with other knit garments that you have, you might see these drag lines that come from here up to the bust. And you know, it's not nice. You know, if you could avoid that with a dart, why not? You can sew a dart on a knit garment, and this one has it, so that is awesome. My current difference is 3.5 inches. It's, you know, so I would usually use the standard bust, but because I really like that dart, I'm just going to be a little bit liberal and just round up that 3.5 to 4 and make it 4. So I've done the full bust option because I really want to sew that dart. This brand drafts for a woman that's about 5'7", so I'm a little bit taller than that, just 1 inch. I find that the long sleeves that I've sewn are good for my length, for my arms, but they might run a little bit long if you are shorter and have shorter arms. So I would just suggest you keep that in mind and check that before you sew your garment, you know, so you don't end up with super long sleeves. In Up Close and So Personal, I'm going to show you an overview of the pattern. I'm going to show you a billion pins and how I am putting these gathers together. It's not hard and the effect is so striking visually. I'm going to show you how I'm sewing that dart, so let's hop into there.
What can I do? Time flashed by and I woke up on the other side of the moon. The sun don't rise on the light is gone.
This is the front piece of the Cambria top, and it is a knit garment. You can see it's got a funny shape there on the side. This is just below the armhole, and it's because this pattern has a dart for the full bust option. There's a dart right there, and I'll show you up close what it looks like. And having a dart on a knit garment is absolutely perfection. I am very happy the dart is there. Here you can see the dart. It's marked with my tracing paper and my tracing wheel, and I am just so happy that this knit pattern has this dart because the fit is just so much better. I've always found with knit tops, even if there is a full bust option that's dartless, you tend to get these drag lines that start around the waist or the hip area that go diagonally to the bust. And you know, on woven patterns, you just put a dart to fix that, and I've shown you how to do that before. But on knit garments, there is never a dart there, and they absolutely can be, and I'm just so happy this pattern has one. I've chosen my 3/4 length sleeve. There's also a short sleeve there, and then a long sleeve cut line on the same pattern piece. And this is the sleeve option that has either gathers on the sleeve cap or pleats on the sleeve cap. I'm using this pleats because I just find them really pretty. Underneath this 3/4 length sleeve, you can have a normal cuff, just, you know, a cuff, or a really long slimline cuff that reaches the full wrist actually, so it makes it long sleeve. Now this bit gets all gathered into the cuff, no matter what cuff you use, the regular one or the long one. Here you can see the top of the sleeve, and if you want to do this gathered, you would gather from the notches. So do your gathering stitch and gather that in to fit the armhole, matching these notches there. But if you want the pleats, you have the pleat marks there. What I find easier is to start pleating from the notches and going up to the center. So you'll find a line there and a line there. That is one pleat. And then what you need to do is just pin those two lines together. So that's one pleat, and now you follow the next two lines right there and you make the next one. and then the next one. So from the shoulder notch, you have 3 pleats on one side, 3 pleats down the other. So that's one side done, and this is the wrong side of the fabric that I'm working on. When you have the wrong side of the fabric up facing you, you push the volume of these pleats towards the center, towards the notch here. And this pleat will actually reach the shoulder notch right there. That's how they're meant to be sewn onto the armhole. I'm very generous with pins when I'm doing pleats, and I don't actually remove them while I'm sewing. I just sew carefully and make sure to remove it like 1 split second before the needle's gonna go over it. So that's how that side's gonna look, and on the other side it's gonna look like that. So basically on this side we do the same, and then also push the volume of the pleats towards the center. So all the pleats are being pushed in like that. Okay, so here we have the other pleats done, and these will go towards the center this way. You'll see in the center you have 2 pleats going in and touching each other, and that center right there is actually the notch of the shoulder that's hidden right underneath, but it's still a reference because it's where the pleats meet right there. So you can see the difference with the unpleated sleeve underneath and how smaller this one got. When you have your front and back pattern pieces with the shoulder attached, you pin this in flat onto the armhole like you would any other knit top, and just match that all up and sew that carefully. I'm gonna keep my pins. And that's it. If you're going to gather, you'd gather and it'll just get small like that as well. That's the only difference. Here's one sleeve piece. It's all extended. Double notches are matching the double notches on the armhole, and the single notch matching the single notch, and a billion pins holding all these pleats together and everything there. Shoulder seam has been stabilized with fusible interfacing, and for this is super important because this sleeve has a lot more fabric with the gathers and pleats, and it could weigh down the shoulder seam and make it sag. So I think stabilizing it is really important in a design like this. And it's basically just sewing this together with 3/8 seam allowance. I'm using my shallow zigzag stitch that I always use for knits. And then just serging the edges, and it's completed and it looks super cool. This is how one of the sleeves looks already sewn up. On the wrong side it looks really weird. I've serged it and sewn it. On the outside it's going to look so pretty, and I think the solid colors really showcase these details a bit more than if you use print. I still need to sew my dart closed. Just sew it like a regular dart, nothing special with this dart. I start at the tip and go towards the wider part of the dart, and that's how I like to do that. And then you just push the volume of the dart down. Then you can sew the side seam, including that little section where the seam allowances are. The seam allowances need to point towards the sleeve, so you sew up and include that. When that's done, you gather that into the long cuff that I'm using. This is the shape of the long cuff that I'm doing. You can see it goes into there. This middle section here is going to be at the wrist, and the wider bit is the one that's going to be sewn onto the sleeve piece. So I've got the wrong side of the fabric, and all you do is fold them right sides together, sew along the edge, flip it, and you're going to have a really long cuff that you just fold onto each other like you would a normal cuff, like that. Only this one's super long and it's sort of shaped like that. Narrower at the wrist and then going wider at the forearm. This is the long cuff. It's pretty long, and I've put my sleeve inside. The end of the sleeve has been gathered in. You can see that's inside, and I have good access with my serger. I've tried to get the gathers nice and even. It's gonna look really pretty. I'll show you my wearable muslin first. I made this one as a fit version just to make sure that the fit was good. just when the test started, and I chose a Rayon spandex that I have, just navy. I wasn't too excited about the navy because I never am excited about solids, but they do work in the wardrobe. And so I have this one. I always choose the lower scoop because I like it. You've got a neckband that you sew on traditionally, dividing your neckline into quarters, dividing the neckband into quarters and sewing it on. I never top stitch neckbands down, it's just my personal preference. I like them looking like that, super neat. I always plug in my free masterclass I have here on YouTube about bindings and neckbands. I will link down below that video at the minute that you need to go and see how to put on a neckband if it's something that you're new to and you're still struggling with. Once you get the practice and the feel of it, it's something you can do very easily and very fast. So that's how that's finished. There was other necklines available that are higher, but I love this low, wide neckline. You won't show your bra strap because it's wider than that there. I really was interested in making these in solids because you're gonna see these details more. If I'd made these in a print, you wouldn't really see them that much, and they're so pretty they need to be seen. Rayon spandex is nice and drapey and light, so these features don't poof out. You're not looking like a football player or anything like that, I think. This is the short sleeve, and that's gathered into the little cuff right there. You saw how I did that with my red version. It's just the same how I did it here. With my serger and my sewing machine, I've sewn everything with my shallow zigzag stitch. I did my shallow zigzag stitch on the dart because this stretches that way. It goes across the body, so you do actually need it. I wouldn't use a straight stitch there. I wouldn't back tack on the point either, just leave long threads and knot it because you don't want that to look ugly. Just be careful that you're not stretching the fabric as you sew the dart. Just let the feed dogs do their thing and don't stretch it out. Just keep it like it is. I had no issue sewing the dart, and I did lower the dart though, and that's a given for me. I did measure the pattern and I lowered it by 3/4 of an inch. Standard adjustment, and it fits me. I mean, if I hadn't have lowered it, it would have been a little bit high for me. So it's the same approach I take to woven to the knit. This is the length that actually you would sew a band on. In the pattern it says cut there for band, but I didn't put on the band. I just hemmed it normally with my twin needle. I'm not gonna get a cover stitch just to do hems, you know. This is my final version. I made sure to match what I'm wearing today, my lipstick. And I love this one so much. Look, this long slim cuff version was not one of the options that was there at the initial testing period, and the designer, she brought it up like 2 or 3 days later. She's like, I've added this option, and she had made a sample for herself, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to make that because I've never made anything like this for myself, this style. So it has the same pleat, only here it's cut at the 3/4 length sleeve option. Here you can add a normal cuff so that the sleeve would end up 3/4, or you can add this long slim cuff that will just make this be full length, and that goes gathered into there. So nice. This red is everything. It's a dark red. It's a heavier ITY, but it still drapes amazingly. This one actually has the full length. I didn't add or do any length adjustments to this because I like this length. The hem on this one with the twin needle looks so much better than the Rayon spandex. So I'm super happy with this. This one has the dart there on the side as well. Before I show you how both of these look on, I'll just show you how this looks inside because it could be interesting to see how all these pleats look inside. It's still quite neat. It's not bulky. I've got red serger thread, so that's nice. It's a very simple top to make. You can see that sewn on, and the dart. Look, these are the types of tops that from cutting to sewing won't take you more than an hour and a half maybe to sew up. One thing that I think is really important with this top is the stabilization of the shoulder seams, and I've shown you that in Up Close and So Personal. You know, you can get away with not doing that sometimes when a garment has a regular sleeve, but this one has a larger sleeve and volume and weight that all the gathers and the pleats give. So I think you shouldn't skip that. Clear elastic, stay tape. I just use fusible interfacing because that's what I have, and it's much more affordable and still works. Let's see how both of these look. Both with a denim skirt. I'm just trying to highlight the top here so you don't get distracted with whatever I'm wearing underneath. This is my red Cambria top, heavier ITY with a 3/4 length sleeve that is gathered into the sort of long, slimmer cuff. There is a regular cuff that you can add on and it would actually be 3/4 lengths, but I wanted to try these. There's a shorter cut line for you to add a band or a crop style as well. I chose the low scoop neckline and I absolutely love it. I love this wide open area and I'm still not showing anything, so that's awesome. Got nice amount of ease, it fits really well. Love it. Now if you notice, the fit on the front is super smooth on the front and on the sides. I love this scoop neckline, it's amazing. You know, it's wide enough to just cover my bra there so it's not showing here, and it's low enough to be super pretty, but I am totally covered. I am not showing anything and I'm super happy with that. There is a crew neckline, a lower crew, and then the low scoop, and the low scoop is what I like. Put my band on there. And then you saw how I sewed these lovely pleats. I super love them. I think they're really pretty. Because of my choice of fabric, I don't find that they poof out or create a lot of volume anyway. It's an ITY, so they drape really nice. And then they gather into this. I think it looks really cool. Never had a garment like this and I'm excited to have one. I really like it. Find the design super pretty. I'd love to have a dress with it too, for sure. Would be the hemline where you would attach a band if you were doing the band, but I opted out of the bands this time and just hemmed it normally, and I like this length on me, mid hip. My red one is a tad longer. Here's a closer look of my pleats. You can also do this gathered, but I really wanted to do the pleats. I also have a little bust start there on the side, and I think the fit is so good with this top because of it. For my bust size, it's awesome. I'm so happy with this pattern. It's been a pleasure to test and to make, and I know I'm gonna love wearing it. It's so pretty for these lovely knit fabrics. I would stay lightweight in my opinion, and I love that I made them in solid for once. I'm so happy with them. If you like this style and want to try it for yourself, remember it's only $7.80 through Tuesday the 24th. You're welcome to use my affiliate link. Thank you so much if you do. I will for sure revisit this pattern. It's so beautiful and I would love to have a dress made out of this. I would also make it in some prints now that I've got them in some solids. A really beautiful design, and I love the fit of that dart there for my bust. I think it makes a difference and I wish other patterns had it. So far I've sewn a knit cardigan that has a dart from Cashmere. They're sort of known for adding the darts everywhere and I really appreciate that. So I'm glad that I found this feature here at GreenStyle Creations as well. I hope this was fun to watch. Just a little bit different colors, different style, a little break from all the purple, and I'll see you back with more purple capsule collection, the finale, tomorrow. Bye and happy sewing.